Alright, here we are. Made it back. This thing's kind of wobbly, isn't it? One day I'm going to have to get everything properly set up, right? It's tough. It's tough when you're trying to live 16 lives in once. Unfortunate, epic fail trip to the coast. What a bummer. I wanted to rip out there by myself and get a bunch of wrinkles ironed out with a few items before I really get in full swing out there. One was trying to stream live fishing all day. Turns out, it's the same dish, the same Starlink app, same anything, but you want your internet to work while you move around in circles, you're gonna have to pay almost twice as much. What a gig, isn't it? All they got to do is change a setting online. That's it, for almost twice as much money, where it doesn't cost them nothing. But I guess that's the way you make money if you're a shrewd businessman. Anyway, here's what it is. What else did I want to do? I really wanted to get that camera underwater filming clearly, but then there was an algae bloom. The algae bloom was so nasty, even the foam on top of the ocean was brown tinged. It's like, come on, I can't win. And then we're in between runs of fish to top it off. Triple kick in the nuts. Oh well, at least I learned. I learned how my wrinkles have been formed and what to do to iron them out. So we'll see what comes. So anyways, I raced home, and then when I get home, I have to climb up on the roof and put my Starlink dish back up on the shop shed roof here. Do all the wiring, pack the laptop back in here, get all the wires back in here, get all my stuff back in here, set it all up, and do my thing. First world problems, right? Anyway. I'm behind in all sorts. We were supposed to have a drawing yesterday for another trail camera. I haven't done that yet. We haven't done that yet either. Friday the 13th. Not that that means shit. We'll get that done possibly later on today. We'll get that name drawn for the next camera. All right. Let's get in here some people. These are all fresh out of the pan, meeting recent. And I remember I encouraged people, I think, this weekend to share me your crazy ass outdoor stories, no matter what they are, no matter what flavor, right? So, this title, who knows what this is going to be about, but the title is Bear Story. Dear Steve, I've been watching you reading emails and your rants for years now. You poor bastard. Thank you so much for doing what you do with email readings. I can tell it helps a lot of people. It sure as hell does. It helps thousands and thousands. I just love you. I think you're a manly man and a great role model for all men. I also want to shout out to your Sarah. What a great lady. I love that both of you help so many people in so many ways. God has a special place in heaven for people like you. Both. Excuse me. I watch you every day. Excuse me. I watch you every day. You have a very calming voice. Well, I could use this whole email to compliment you and show my adoration for all of you, for all you do, but I won't. Just know you're loved in Yamhill, Oregon. All right, appreciate the kind words. Big time. I haven't sent this story to you out of consideration for the people. I don't want to waste your time or theirs, but the other day you said, if anyone had a camping story that we wanted to share, then to email it in and you would like to hear it. Oh my God, that was my cue. LOL. All right. It took me all day to fire up the computer that I haven't used in over a year, and it had to update itself before I could write my story. Okay, here it goes. I took a 9-day solo camping trip in 2009. I started up by Portland, Oregon, and was going to end in Chico, California. I left the kids with their father. I drove over to the ocean, to Highway 101, and then down to Arica, California, then east on Highway 299. By the time I got to the California border, I was so tired I needed to sleep. I'd packed some camping gear and my late husband's backpacking dome tent. A very small tent. I didn't have much. A tote box with some pans and a coffee pot. I had a large double ice chest that didn't have anything in it. A sleeping bag and a pad. A day pack with personal items in it. I also packed a .38 special gun that we had only a few bullets just in case. Love hearing that. More bullets, though. I remember from past campouts about this campground called Patrick's Point. now called Sioux Meg Campground, just over the Oregon border into California. Its name changed in 2021. It was about 7 p.m. and I pulled in there and paid my $16 for the night. I picked out site number 55. I just wanted to sleep, no cooking, just sleep. There was this food cupboard at the campsite, and on both sides was manzanita bushes. It was a great place for my tent out of the wind. And after setting up the tent, I crawled into my sleeping bag and went right to sleep. At about 10 p.m., I get woke up by this very loud noise. Someone was in my campground. I thought, holy shit, someone saw that I'm alone and I'm a woman. That was my first thought. I get out of my sleeping bag and I sat up and unzipped a small corner of the tent so I could see who it was. Oh my God, it was 3 or 4 bears. And they are in my tote box and in my truck. I get my gun on my day pack. Steve, I'd never loaded this gun, let alone ever fired it. That's not good. We have to learn how to use firearms before we pack them around. It's dark and I loaded that gun like I knew what I was doing. It's amazing what you can do when you are so scared. I'm sitting in the middle of this very small tent with this loaded gun pointing at the door. Like if they come in my tent, they would use the door. LOL. And, shit, one of the bears is squeezing himself between the tent and the manzanita bushes trying to get to that damn cupboard. That I thought was the seagulls that I thought was for the seagulls. Well, obviously it's for bears, and they knew it was for food. The tent's bowing in, and that bear was inches from me. I had to lean over so he didn't touch me. No way. I could hear his grunting and the deep breathing. I was so scared. I was holding my breath because I didn't want him to smell my breath and think it was food in there. You know, hindsight is always better after you're able to think, but I couldn't think. I was so scared. I just leaned over so he wouldn't feel any resistance and spook him. I just stayed quiet. And I have a death grip on that gun. I'm shaking so much. I thought I could shoot a shot off in the air, but my husband would not want a hole in his tent, LOL. I can hear the other ones knocking around that tote box and digging in the pans that were in there. I had a bag of miniature candy bars in that tote, and they emptied out the bag and that is what they were trying to get out of the tote box. I could hear them in the back of my truck, batting around that double ice chest. They ripped off the lid on it. There wasn't anything in the ice chest. There were deep scratches in the bed liner of my truck, and after about 15 to 30 minutes, finally, I heard them leaving my camp. It took me several minutes of talking myself to release the death grip I had on that gun. I finally talked myself into putting the loaded gun down so we didn't end up with an accidental shooting. And after a while, I laid back down and I figured it was over. Oh no! They came back 4 more times throughout the night, and each time I grabbed the gun and sit up, and the bear wedged himself between the bushes and my tent to check that cupboard. Oh my God, this had to be the worst night of my life. The last time I heard them, I can see through my tent that the dawn was breaking. My watch said it was 5 a.m. I had had no sleep, and I was pissed. I think I was madder than any bear. I yelled out to go on and get out of here and go start making noise. I could hear them trot off. I threw open my tent and everything was strewed everywhere. I just started throwing all my stuff in the truck, dirt and all. I stopped at the pay booth to look and see if there was any notice to watch for bears, and I wanted to give the park ranger a piece of my mind, but it was too early for anyone to be there. There was no signs of any kind about bears. I've been camping all my life, and I know what to do if there are bears in the area. I think that is why I was so mad. I really thought the cupboard was for seagulls. The last time we were there, the seagulls took off with my loaf of bread and dumped bread as they flew away. I've been back there to see if there are any signs posted. Well, Steve, I'm sure you've had your own share of bear encounters. I just love your channel. Keep it up. It's very entertaining. God bless you and Sarah. And P.S. My little dog just passed away, and I was alone when it happened. My husband was gone camping and fishing. Your channel and stories keep me company when I felt so alone. Thank you. I was watching and listening to you read the emails day and night. I was engulfed with them during that grieving time. I could swear I saw Bigfoot in my living room for just a moment. It was a weird feeling, but I wasn't scared. I've not ever seen one. out in the forest, but it was very strange. I am a believer and have been for most of my life. Take care, my friend, your friend Betty. You take care too, Betty. Good for you standing your ground. I can't believe you didn't shoot it. A lot of people would have shot it the second it pressed on the tent, right? Lucky bear. Yeah, I got a lot of bear stories. I got a lot of bear stories. Yeah. It's funny how I'm just in time for my neighbor to fire up his equipment next door each morning here, right? That reminds me of one story. I'll show you guys a quick one. With a super, super kind lady who was our camp cook one year up north in guide camp. And she comes from a long line of outfitter families in the north. And she believes she lives in Horsefly now. Horsefly, British Columbia. Anyway, she was working for an outfitter in the Yukon. And she was explaining to us how paranoid she is. She doesn't like bears. Terrified of them. And she was in the cabin when that grizzly followed me into camp and attacked. Poor thing, she was there for that too. Didn't help her case it much, but we have a picture of her and my guide partner with that skinned out bear that we had to kill. Anyway, she was out working for an outfitter in the Yukon, and it was hunt change time. Hunt change time, and it was the end of the season. They were getting hunters out and then all the equipment, breaking down camp, and they had to leave her alone just for one day. No big deal. Hasn't been a bear in camp there just hasn't been one. Everything's cool. Plane flies out. No sooner is a plane fly, and she's just in a wall tent, a canvas wall tent, no cabin. A grizzly and her 3 big grizzly cubs roll into her camp and start tearing the place apart. She said she was so terrified, didn't have a gun, and she's in this wall tent listening, and it's her personal worst nightmare. And she's listening to these grizzly bears shredding place apart and creating havoc. She said she had a rack that held a bunch of plates and everything on it right kind of next to the tent wall. They hit the tent and bonked the tent and slammed all the dishes all over the place while she's standing there. Then they left. Thank God they didn't go in the tent. That poor woman. Your story reminded me of that one. So now we got equipment and a helicopter coming over. You probably can't hear it, but I can hear it loud and clear. Anyway, moving along. Here we go. Appreciate the kind email again, once again. I wish you nothing but luck. I'm glad you're here with us. Predator drones and Sabe. Sorry about the background sound. It should tone down if you can hear it. Hi, Steve. Please don't use my name, but you can refer to me as Markin. I've been following you for a couple years now. I found you via Missing 411 channel. When you read an email from someone complaining to him that he should talk to you about your colorful language. Dave chuckled. I thought, F yeah, I gotta check this Steve dude out. Anyways, Predator drones and Sabe. I work in the U.S. defense industry. Most of my projects have been in avionics, involving RF transmissions, basically radar, communications, electronic warfare, etc. And often when starting a new project, I come across terms that I don't recognize. Sometimes I've just not seen the term before, while other times the term is something a company or person coined on their own. So, earlier this year, I got a new task to work on, and while reading upon it, I came across the term slant range. I googled the term, and the Google popped up a short description with a drawing of a Predator drone flying above a Sabe. What? The picture instantly caught my attention. Why is slant range associated with a Sabe? Anyone familiar with the fields I work in knows that 99% of drawings on these subjects show planes or drones flying above radar dishes, tanks, ships, soldiers, etc. Not Sabe. And for your information, slant range, S-L-A-N-T range, is basically the distance from the front of a plane or a drone to the target, computed by the height of the plane above the earth and the ground distance from the spot below the plane to the target. The calculation of the distance to the target is basic trigonometry, and it's the hypotenuse of the triangle. Anyways, enough technical jargon. The important thing is Why does the Googling of Slant range bring up a drawing of a Predator drone and a Sabe? I followed the link for the drawing and it leads to Sierra Olympic Tech, a company in Hood River, Oregon that does infrared cameras. I'm guessing that a large part of their business is with the military, and I can only think of two scenarios that would lead to the drawing including a Sabe. Either their company or their customers have had experiences with detecting Sabe with IR cameras, or someone important at the company is a huge Sabe fan. I found this very curious. If I was on the West Coast, I would consider sending them my resume just for the chance to ask them about their drawing. Anyone can easily find the info by Googling Slant Range. Though the last time I did it, the picture didn't come up first. Have to follow the link to the company. Keep up the great work. You're really performing a public service. You and Sarah are an inspiration from helping to feed the children to calling out all the BS. Keep up the colorful language. I can't imagine why in this day and age it bothers some people, but I guess there will always be someone. I emailed you a while back about my experience when I was 4 with a dinosaur. At least I thought the gigantic alligator snapping turtle crawling out of the swamp was a dinosaur. I don't know if you ever read it, but I have some other ideas, and now that I got my lazy ass to write you, maybe I'll get to my other ideas. Thanks, and have a great day. Thank you, my man. Yeah, I do remember that. We did read that. Appreciate you marking. Email us some more about what you're into. It sounds very interesting. Or email us and fill us in on what you think we would be interested in hearing. Please do. Appreciate you, man. Colorful language. Oh, I know. Well, I think we like to think we've weeded out most of offended culture, and believe me, some may agree and some may not. Offended culture is destroying our communities, and that is a fact. It's destroying our governments, and it's allowing for some nasty-ass shit to be going on. Speaking of that, I listened to a podcast while on the boat the other day with Tommy Robinson from the UK and his truth and what's happened to him, what's happened to the UK, and he did the PBD podcast. I suggest you listen to it. Momo is the title of this email. Hi Steve, JMK from the UK here yet again, just watching the episode Flattened Nose, Red Hair, etc. And you related another story about the Missouri Monster, or as it's nicknamed, the Momo. And the same thing still puzzles me. Surely if its nickname is shortened, sort of acronym of the full name, it would be called Mimo, as in Missouri Monster and not Momo. Just saying, because it just doesn't make sense. What do I know? Just a 70-year-old English language and literature A-level student who took his exams in 1971-72. I suppose Mimo sounds more like a police siren, lol, and Momo could be the sound of something terrible, like the Jaws theme tune being sung. Momo, Momo, Momo. Get my drift, stay safe. Love to you all. Chippy is shooting up a treat. Until next time. JMK from the UK. Well, there you go. The wheels are turning. I don't know. Somebody from Missouri may chime in about the Momo and its spelling. Don't know, my man. Thanks for chiming in. Hope you're safe over there in what's soon to be complete Muslim UK, right? By the looks of it. Extremist. Correcting the narrative. Proposal for a comprehensive Sabe encounter database. Is this just for me and not for all of us? Oh, let's read it. It's short. Correcting the narrative proposal for a comprehensive Sabe encounter database. Dear Steve, hope this message finds you, Sarah, Chippy, and your animals in doing well. I previously shared insights about the Sabe, including 2 encounters in my first email, which you kindly read the following day, and a second email titled The Shattered Blueprint, sent on February 27, 2025, which I don't think's been read yet. I deeply appreciate the invaluable platform you provide for sharing such knowledge. And I'm writing to address a persistent issue, the misrepresentation of the Sabe as ape-like creatures in AI-generated imagery and general descriptions. This stems from limited and biased data sources, primarily a single database maintained by an organization we both choose not to name, which sanitizes accounts to fit a false narrative. To counter this, I propose creating an independent, comprehensive database compiling tens of thousands of first-hand Sabe encounters. These accounts often describe beings with human-like features, high intelligence, and abilities potentially surpassing those of humans. I recall you mentioning the possibility of organizing the encounter emails you've received into a similar resource. Such a database could challenge the prevailing misinformation and provide AI with accurate data to draw from, fostering more truthful representations. While it might not fully shift the narrative, it would be a significant step forward and a bold statement against those perpetrating falsehoods. I'd be honored to assist with this project if you choose to pursue it. Please feel free to contact me if you need support. Additionally, this initiative could encourage individuals whose stories were altered by the aforementioned organization to share their authentic accounts for inclusion. Thank you for your tireless efforts and dedication to this cause. Keep up the good fight. Warm regards, Craig. There you go, Craig. Appreciate that, man. I'll just add it into my shit to do project list, right? But you know what? Yeah, the AI thing, I've challenged AI. I've been looking into AI a lot lately. We actually used it to create models for Sarah's store. Harmless. But the AI thing, a lot of people, let's talk about this just for a minute, all right? The AI thing. When I was first trying to figure out how to create my app platform, which was solely to make sure I could share true knowledge without bullshit to the world. That's what I was after. Way before I did this. And I went with a tech friend to a tech meeting in Vancouver. I was so humiliated, really. I just didn't have any knowledge. I'm sitting there listening, and she's explaining how you got to go to these meetings and meet people, and they can help you do what you're trying to do, blah, blah, blah. But at that time, I just did not have enough. I'm sitting there listening to basically people talking Chinese. Not real fluent Chinese, but you know what I mean? It might as well have been. But I'll never forget, there's this guy up at the podium. Everybody was kissing his ass like he was some kind of a celebrity. There's probably 100 people in the room. And right downtown in the core of Vancouver City. And this guy almost had his look on his face like one of those dictators at the podium screaming out to the world. And he goes, "Mark my words, AI is coming and there's nothing you can do about it. The world will have AI and it is coming." After this big long speech about AI, and the crowd starts cheering. And all I remember from me was my gut was telling me, should this guy get taken out now? You know what I mean? He was like one of those freaks that you see in a scientific movie who's bringing Frankenstein to life, So anyways, AI is here now. Yeah, we just started using it for a couple things, just creating visuals. And some people have been groaning, "Oh God, not the AI thing, Steve, don't do it." And it took me back to that initial reaction years ago when Facebook first came out. And I went on there, and I remember a few of my contractor friends, very educated guys, and Whistler groaning, going, "Oh man, we just saw you're on that Facebook thing. Oh my God." Initial reactions, right? Now look at Facebook. Every single business on the planet has it. And it's basically swung the tide in, possibly swung the tide in global elections and all sorts of shit. The way we go about life, it's crazy. But it's here to stay, right? I think that's the thing, same thing with the AI thing. I have a funny feeling. But anyway, I have gone on there and I've challenged it, and I've given AI some hard questions that I knew the correct answers to. And it sidestepped the answer. So yeah, they confirmed for me 100% it's programmed to fit some algorithms, right? For sure. Do I feel motivated to create a database to make sure that AI gets shit right? Not really. I'm more about with one-on-one like we're doing here. I think this is possibly one of the most effective routes to but to ensuring that absolute truth gets spread. And that is by giving the people a voice in every single human being treated equally, which is what we've been doing and why I would imagine this channel has gone bonkers for the numbers without trying. You know what I mean? Nobody has come here trying to be in front of the lens. Nobody's come here to try to promote themselves, and do the whole, TV circuit, podcast circuit. I'm starting to ramble. But I think that is very effective, is is giving every single human being a voice and treated equally firsthand, one-on-one in a way. I guess this isn't quite one-on-one, but it is. So I'm just saying at this stage of the game right now, I'm not overly giving a shit about what AI comes up with when it comes to these truths myself. Not yet. Should I be? Maybe. I don't know yet. That's something I'm going to have to learn on my own, but we'll see what comes. Absolutely appreciate the email and the offer, my man. Absolutely appreciate it. Another thing, too, is, like I've said, I don't know how many times in the past, you can't promote this topic. It's making this topic mainstream from what we have seen from the reactions, the true reactions of human beings on average when it comes to this topic. You can't really do it. You can try. It just turns into a fiasco, right? Like the reality TV dog shit. You can't do it because with this topic, the majority of humans have been programmed to absolutely slam the iron doors shut in their brain and dismiss it and don't even look there. The majority of the human beings. And the only way they do eventually lift up that door is when they hear somebody they trust talk about what they saw or they've seen it themselves. Don't you think? And that's why I don't promote this channel. That's why the people that have come here have found this on their own because they're digging for answers. So how do you deliver answers to a crowd of people who aren't looking for answers? You know what I mean? I hope I just made sense. All right. Excuse me. Holler baby killed. Quote, different from teens baby killed. Holler baby killed may get confused with other priors. There's the hikers coming across what was described as a young teen blonde girl with a baby in a stream. The teen was both surprised and happy to see the people, but a Sasquatch male came out of the woods, grabbed the baby, bashed its brains out on a rock, and took the teen girl off with it. There's something about killing the baby that was punishment for talking with people, I think. It was out west. The baby was swung by its feet. The teen girl shouted something about not going with them, but the Sasquatch grabbed the baby anyway, possibly in the 80s or 90s, maybe 2000s, certainly modern. If you think and you come across that, you should be able to come across that again, though. Where is that original? I've never heard of that myself. Another one, in an area in remote hills back in the U.S. East, pre-1900s. The local Indians had warned the settlers that they came around every 2 or 3 years and stayed several weeks. During this time, they keep all the women in the village, especially if they were of childbearing years, as they would harass them, sometimes take them. There was an agreement that when they came around, everyone stays in the villages and lets them hunt what they will. If anyone from any village went out and hunted during that time, then they would attack all the villages and take women. One settler farmer didn't believe this. There was a big dust-up, and that resulted in a woman, a relative of his, getting taken. Returned to her family after some years. She had a baby, refused to marry, quietly living out her life on the farm, not talking much, avoiding people. I checked my notes file, but I'm amazed I didn't put those 2 accounts in it. I guess these accounts were so striking, I assumed my memory of details wouldn't fade. Michael. Okay, man, well, you are one of our lead sleuths out there. Maybe have a little look around, see if you can come up with those original stories and chuck them our way. Chuck them our way if you find them. Sounds creepier than shit and interesting. All right. Who's next? Keep me anonymous, except for my handle. For you and some for everyone. If you choose, I will try to keep it short. Here we go. Anonymous is an easy one to do here. I love what you're doing. I know you have heard a lot. I know you've heard that a lot, and your humility makes me believe that you appreciate it every time you hear that. Do appreciate it. The post titled, quote, It grabbed its ankle. I think you meant it grabbed his ankle with its full fist, end quote. On May 19th, you told how you came to make this channel. It was very enlightening and inspiring to hear. I have posted a comment on the difficulty in figuring out the timing on the postings so that I can watch them in order and the difference between the Facts channel compared to the Truth channel. Maybe I am missing something, but if you could do a little presentation on those differences, I think I will see it because I am watching everything you post. Yeah, the other channel is just a backup channel that was created just to keep us here in case I got spanked again from the main holders of the internet, which they did to me numerous times in the past when I was fighting, doing what I could, when they were hammering on the people doing the COVID thing and other things. And what I realized was if you have a channel, it's all interlinked into your Google account, but you can have numerous YouTube channels. And this is how it works, in case you didn't know. If you're bad and speak your mind, and they don't like it, they will give you a spanking and prevent you from posting here, or they will just take the channel away altogether. Well, guess what? I realized when I was getting spanked, your other channels aren't affected, and they keep ripping. I'm like, oh, okay, well, we better keep a secondary channel ripping. So the other channel just has random emails or videos from this channel loaded onto the other channel as a backup. That's all it is. We made that clear in the beginning and during a couple times, but that's what it is. It's a backup channel, and it gets fed to keep it relevant if or when I get spanked and deleted from this one again. There you go. And I know I should have started numbering all these videos. I guess like probably one day when I got time, I could go back and crack it open and start numbering all the videos. But there's like over 1,000, isn't there? And some time. See, I have about 6 lifetimes I'm trying to live right now. There's that explanation. I would like to suggest that if there is a way to lead people to that May 19th, most, like in the information section of the channel, if it said something like, why this channel exists, maybe newcomers like me could understand better, sooner. Your story is so hooking. If I would have heard that story earlier, I would have been hooked earlier. May 19th, I'll go check that one out. On this channel, the other one, I'll have to reread. Sorry. That stuff was for you, unless you want to read it. The next you may or may not want to read. Either way, I'm fine. Oh, I read it all. Unless I'm told not to, I read it all. Excuse me. I wrote you a few weeks ago titled Life's Lessons. You read it within a few days, much to my surprise. And as you were so good at, you made some comments that encouraged me and confirmed that I shared something meaningful like I was hoping to do. In that, I mentioned that a few old friends of mine had seen things, and that I was going to try to get them to share on your channel. And because of that, I called one of those old friends last night. We talked for hours, caught up on many things. It's been about 20 years since we have had a conversation that was more than just passing in a store. I always felt like he had good long-term morals, and I was right. But the point I want to make right now is this. Because of your channel, I called him, and because of that call, he told me a story that is another, quote, life lesson, end quote, for me that is so important. He told me that one night, it was he and I waiting for our other buddies to show up, drinking a few on the tailgate. He said that he was thinking about quitting his job with the county. I told them that he should stay with it because it was a path to success and happiness, because it was stable and that he needed that. He said that I told him that on that path I believed he would find happiness and someday find love and a family. He told me that after that conversation he decided to stay with the county. And here it is now. He found happiness. He's already retired once and is working on a second career with a teenage son to raise stability in life. He's had some marital issues, but he has handled them well. I had no idea that I had influenced him that way. I don't even remember that conversation. And like you, I'm really bad, or maybe good, about just speaking from the heart. Especially back then before life humbled me so much and made me a more cautious person. So, you will never know how many lives your work has influenced in a positive way. This little chain of events in my life confirms to me that there is a God directing good people to fight against the evil. Yes, we are winning. We're winning because we are not bowing down to the evildoers. Your sense of community is truly something that is so important. I believe you when you say you won't stop. And even if these stories start sounding the same, I'll keep on listening and commenting, as will thousands of others. The world needed you, and you probably will never know it, at least on this earth, how much you are doing God's work. My handle is Humbled by Force on YouTube. For your info, I live in Hamilton, Texas area. When you were in Texas a few weeks ago, you were a few hours away. If you're ever in this area, I'm at your service. Just ask and I'll give you all my information. Thanks so much. Okay, appreciate that kind email, my man. Kind words, encouraging words. You can't get enough of them here, right, or anywhere. Yeah, I got it bad. I got to think about quitting. It probably bites me in the ass with a few different slices of life around me, but I just got this shitty thing about quitting. It really bugs me. I think obviously due to my childhood and the people around me growing up, quitting makes me want to puke. I watched enough of it, and it doesn't do good for anybody. And I'm a stubborn son of a bitch. I know that. Now, next. Wildman or wood woes? The fight in the forest. Hi, Steve. Came across your 2 channels several months back, and while I've never had the Sabe experience, my torture was from evil, narcissistic men, starting with my father and ending with my second husband shooting me 5 times, and my 13-year-old daughter once with a 40 cal. What? Smith & Wesson semi-automatic handgun using hollow point bullets. However, by the grace of God we lived, but he didn't, as he took his own life. My daughter and I celebrated the 30th anniversary last November 2nd. We're indeed blessed. Holy shit. So sorry that happened to you. At 75 years old on June 29th, I'm still here. Although crippled from a spinal cord injury in 2021, unfortunately I can no longer get out and do outdoor things, but fortunately via YouTube, I get to go along with you and Adventure Dog. That's great. Glad to have you here. I wrote to you a while back about the JFK assassination, asking your advice about gunfire, but it must have gotten lost in the thousands of emails you receive. I'll write again about that with a totally different theory. One of the accounts you read recently mentioned a Sasquatch in a 1500s painting in an Italian church. And I came across the drawing also from the 1500s by German artist Hans Berkmair, the Elder. And it sure looks like a Sasquatch to me. He's frickin' huge. What do you all think? I think they've been around a very long time. And here's a picture of the drawing along with the explanation. In my humble opinion, the reason governments do not acknowledge Sabe or aliens is because they know they cannot control them. They have no weapons to eliminate them. Thus, it is best to tell the public they do not exist. Pussies. Agreed. You just made me laugh. Excuse me. Yeah, we've had that. Let me blow it up here. We have had this drawing submitted in the past. A fair amount of time ago. I remember it well, and it's a very obvious, huge, giant, hair-covered man-like being, beard and all, fighting. How'd they come up with that dude? Who was the original model? Who had that idea the first time? There you go. Appreciate your email. I'm super glad you're here with us and you survived that dark, nasty, shit-eating time. Oof. What's this? Don't know. Going in. Mark, this is red. 2 a.m. strangeness. Hey, Steve. This is Alan from West Central Alabama again. I've debated for a month on whether or not to send this encounter. Question mark. I'll start this by saying that once a person comes to know of the existence of these forest people, everything that an ignorant individual would never give a second thought suddenly becomes magnified and studied. Doesn't it? Right? That's why they don't want us to know. On to the story. Excuse me. My wife and I have a 55-pound dog that lives completely inside our home. The only outside time for her is when she needs to go to the bathroom. On May 15th, she woke me up at 2:30 a.m. with short, muffled barks as she stood at my side of the bed. She was needing to go out and use the bathroom. This behavior is unusual for her. She always sleeps through the night without disturbance. I got up and took her out, put her on her cable, and led her off the porch and into the yard. I sat in one of our chairs on the porch to wait, and she finished her business and came and sat on the top step. I was dozing in the chair when she suddenly lunged from the step back into the yard, barking like crazy. I got her back on the porch and released her from her cable. I noticed that the night was totally silent, no wind at all. Then suddenly a large limb in one of the pecan trees about 100 yards from our house slowly snapped. Steve, I know that you are aware that it is never silent at night in the spring or summer here in the South. Yeah, no. Anything but that. More the opposite. Our dog going nuts, the silence, the calm wind, and the rather large snapping limb, all at the same time, piqued my suspicions. This whole event could be nothing, or it could be something. But nothing goes unnoticed when these beings hiding in plain sight become reality. I appreciate you, Steve, and your deep devotion to share our voices, bringing this truth to the forefront. I hope that maybe we can connect next spring when you come turkey hunting. I hate that it didn't work out this year, but there's always next year. Best wishes, Alan. Next year for sure, man. I'm pre-planning it this time. Pre-planning. I have a lot of pre-plans coming up for this year. Might be quite the life-changing year this year, maybe. Well, it always is for many, but for me, we'll see. But I have big plans on that note. Next. My puzzle pieces for what they're worth. Steve, you have no idea how you have made my life worth keep going forward. Sorry to sound dramatic like the maggots that plead for us to pay attention to them because of their ism of the day. I wrote to you a long time ago about my first encounter. I was riding my motorcycle in the forest and shut off my engine and coasted a long distance. Then I stopped looking over a river below me. I saw a first being, I like your term, on the fat riverbank. Fat or flat? Probably at the flat riverbank, and below me, about 400 vertical feet below. He was drinking, and mostly hidden in the foliage of the far bank. I was hidden, as my father taught me to be, inside a bush and tree. When he finished drinking, he looked straight into my hidden eyes. We saw each other perfectly then. That moment was a defining moment in my teenage life. For some reason, Adele's email from Red Feather Lake struck me. Thank you, Adele. I don't give a rat's ass about if people hear me. That's for wannabes. I always lived being hidden. My dad had always taught me to be hidden and not seen. I'll never say I grew up in Idaho because, let's face it, I've never grown up, so I say I was raised in Idaho, where Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho meet. My dad taught me to shoot when I was 5. I followed him into the forest from that time. He would have always say in a quiet voice, quote, "We're here today to hunt." Bracket, insert the game we were after that day, pine grouse, deer, elk, moose, brook trout, and bracket. And I always wondered about his quiet rambling, but I never asked him about it. And a year after my first sighting, I was deer hunting in a different part of the state. I was hidden, again, and was looking over a shake slide, probably meant shale slide, coming down to a small clearing in the forest below. I was laughing to myself when my sister and a cousin walked into the clearing. I was 200 yards above them and hidden. And in my head I said, "I see you." That's a bad mental habit, LOL. Anyway, my sister and cousin heard what they described as a mountain lion scream. To me, it was deeper in tone. They exited the small clearing post haste. I stayed where I was, and a few minutes later I heard shake. No, you called it shake. Okay, I heard shake moving on the shake slide. I trained my scope in the slide, long for the big buck coming down the slide. I heard shale. Now it's shale. Moving for over a minute. But nothing was in/on the slide. See, I read it everything word for word, you guys. Sometimes there's typos, sometimes there isn't. The sound stopped, but there was nothing there. After a couple of minutes, there was a shimmer. For lack of a better term, about 50 yards below the shake slide and almost in the clearing my sister had been in. Just a shimmer. I lay hidden thinking, what the hell? Anyway, I didn't see anything definite, just a shimmer, and then silence. I stayed where I was. A combination of my dad's training and oh dang my 12-year-old F. Sorry, let me read that one twice. A combination of my dad's training and oh dang my 12-year-old F. The forest was silent for a couple of minutes, and I saw a decent muley buck up on the shale. I made the shot, dragged the deer down to camp. It was long after dark when I got to camp. I told my sister that I saw her in the clearing. She looked scared. I told my great white hunter story, LOL, including the shale sounds, with nothing to be seen. I got ridiculed by my cousins immensely then, and I learned to keep my mouth shut then. A week later, my grandfather and I were hunting there, and we saw what we both described as the strangest flashing lights as we could have ever seen. We saw the lights for 45 minutes moving up the slope of the mountain where the shake slide. It's funny, shake or shale. You've spelt it the same equally amount of times. Sorry. It took the man years to understand why my dad would say out loud but quietly why we were in the forest. All me slow, but I understand now. Oh, I think he meant call me slow, but I understand now. Those experiences were in Idaho. I live in the People's Republic of Colorado now and heard and seen the forest people here also. Thank you for giving us all a voice. You have a special spirit. I'm moving back to the land of 3 seasons. Last winter, this winter, next winter, Idaho soon. I'd love to throw a fly for a brook trout with you. Thank you for everything you do for all of us and the kids who need help also. I spent the best part of my life combating human trafficking before it was talked about. Love to share a beer with you, my friend. Zane. P.S. I don't give a fat rat's south end if you use my name. If they come for me, I'll be hidden. LOL. Sucks to be them. You and Sarah be safe, amigo. You too, Zane. Appreciate you, man. And we just might have that beer. You never know, right? We just might have that beer one day. And that's interesting to hear that you were fighting against those pedo sons of bitches. I'd like to hear more about that, too. Because so far, nobody's paying for that shit, right? Why is that? On the large scale level, politicians, celebrities, and all, guess it's green light. Just do whatever you want, right? If you're in the club, the dirty, filthy club. Demonic Entity is the title of this email. These are all fresh out of the frying pan, meaning the inbox, you guys. Dear How to Hunt family. I've written on before about an experience my husband and I had with our dogs while trying to get to a fire that the USFS was unwilling to fight. I told you I'd write in again with more of our experiences. Well, this is mine from many moons ago. Yes, I'm part Indian, and I love that part of my heritage. I freely admit that I'm not as familiar with it as I would like to be, but God gave us all gifts. What we do with them is our choice. Many moons ago, when I was 17, a friend and I had an experience I was unwilling to tell my parents about. She was staying over one night, and what happened will stay with me, and I believe her, for the rest of our lives. We were lying in bed, decided to have a cigarette. No, it was not permitted. And as I closed my bedroom window, we both saw a tree stump with red eyes. It moved slowly closer to my window. We both were very frightened. At the same time, we both looked toward my bedroom door. We thought we were looking at my mom. It wasn't my mother. It was a beautiful form with beautiful green eyes. My mother has blue eyes. In a gown similar to my mom's. I believe is my guardian angel. John. I named him a long time ago. I also invited him to call our feasts. Anyway, Shailene told my dad about the entire ordeal. I was afraid to for fear they would think I was on drugs. We'd already had an experience thanks to my poor choices. I've had dreams all my life, not the average dreams, visions. I dreamt about my uncle's murder, the fire that took my aunt and uncle's home, people I hadn't yet met. Many things. Things I don't talk about. I believe God gave us each a gift, but I also believe that He never intended for us to talk about it. These gifts are ours, quite personally. But some things we mustn't keep to ourselves. These creatures, beings you speak of, they are not here to befriend us. And their number increases because the end is coming. And that's right soon. They will be out. They will be out, torment and torture. As I said before, when the 3 days of darkness comes, they will be beckoned to us to open our doors, sounding like our loved ones. And if we open the door, no amount of God's marking can stop them. They are of Satan. We must pray fervently for his protection. I don't care how crazy people think I am. I desperately want them to know. If this does nothing more, I pray for all to seek and pray for the truth, God's truth, and that's all that matters. Love to call in Christ, Kathleen M. Newmare. Okay, Kathleen, you have been heard. I appreciate your concern for all of us here in the world, and I hope it doesn't come true. If it's true, I hope it doesn't. 3 days of darkness. It's been called upon. Somebody's made that call that it's coming for quite some time, right? I think 3 days of darkness has already fell upon a lot of people on the planet. A lot more than 3 days, and it's going on right now, too. Oh, this dog shit war just makes you want to puke, especially when you listen to the people who listen to the original people who want to start the wars. They're all insane. Psychopaths. Absolute psychopaths. I'll bite me lip. Anyway, we're all over the map with the emails today, aren't we? And topics. I'm scrolling down through my hundreds and hundreds and hundreds I've read. I got to get to the bottom of my list here where I got a whole bunch saved. Where are they? Where are they? Actually, I guess I should probably get going. I got too much stuff to do. I'm going to get going. I got to get caught up. I was supposed to talk to people from here this past handful of days. Just a bunch of stuff's been going down here, you guys. All right, I don't share my whole life on here, but there's a bunch of stuff's been going down here, especially when it comes to my father passing and a bunch of other shit related to it. So regular things going on in life. We had Chippy here for 2 weeks, trying to iron out small goals that I have and making sure I try to cut time for every single slice of world I got going on around here, and it just gets me behind, and I miss out on doing things that I want to do or say I'm going to do, and it gets me behind. What I'm saying is there's a few people here that I need to talk to, and I haven't been able to, and I shared that I would have had that done already. Maybe tonight. Maybe tonight's the night that I get to talk to these other people, especially the kind man who's going to phone me and talk to me about the 5 Sasquatch people that he saw and video recorded. Supposed to do that a handful of days ago. On and on and on. My apologies, but I will get on it. All right, I will get on it. But I better get away from here from right now so I can get all my stuff caught up with and get right back into it and get these little goals knocked off. And we'll announce a winner for this last Friday's trail camera winner. We'll draw it later today and announce that winner too, probably tomorrow. What else? Sarah still has her sale going on her store. I think that ends Sunday night. I don't even know what day it is. What day is it? What are we? Doesn't even say. Oh, it's Saturday, June 14th. All right, there we go. Sunday, tomorrow night, her sale ends. That's listed in the links below. Fishing, everything. Just go to howthunt.com if you're curious about everything I'm trying to babble about and have a look for yourself. But I'll listen to that helicopter. What the hell's going on out there? Maybe there's another fire or something. All right, no more babbling. I gotta go. I'll be back tomorrow. Have a safe and awesome frickin' weekend. Make sure you're doing something you love to do today, all right? Or tomorrow, whatever. Just make sure you do what you love to do. Please. Priority. Think for yourself. Be free. Teach freedom. Talk to you later.